What's up, guys? This is Nick from Arch City Poker, and today we're going to be continuing the How to Beat Live Low Stakes Poker series with today's topic covering slow playing or trapping, essentially. I don't think you guys should be doing a whole lot of this kind of thing in live low stakes games. I think most of the pool is going to be made up of loose passive players, and so you just do a lot better by betting and bet folding. I do think there are some spots where you should consider slow playing or trapping a little bit. For example, I'm going to go over 4 different concepts, I guess I would call them, and they're all going to be pretty quick. One is going to be blockers. If you have top set on King 8-3, if you have pocket kings, it's King 8-3 rainbow, then you probably do a little better by checking at least one street and slow playing a little bit, simply because you just block a lot of your opponent's continuing range. When you block top pair plus, it's going to be hard for your opponent to have a lot of hands that they're going to want to continue with, especially when we're talking about trying to get 3 streets of value. So in that spot where you're heavily blocking a lot of your opponent's continuing range, I would consider slow playing a little more often. Now, let's say you have pocket 8s or pocket 3s on that same board, so you have middle set and bottom set. These combos I probably would want to bet more often because it's a little more likely you're going to get 3 streets, as you don't heavily block your opponent's top pair plus range. Now, the second concept that I want to discuss is protection. On that King 8-3 rainbow board, you don't really need much protection with a lot of your hands. The board's very disconnected. It's very dry. There's not a lot of board runouts to where you allow your opponent to realize their equity in an easy way, essentially. They're not going to catch up that often. So the more wet, the more connected a board is, the less I would suggest slow playing. And I think you guys kind of innately know that. You see a wetter board, there's more that your opponents can call with, that you don't want to allow free cards on these boards as often. So probably more of an obvious concept, but definitely keep in mind protection. That can go hand in hand with blockers. When you have pocket kings on King 8-3, you just don't really need much protection at all. Now, granted, you don't need a whole lot of protection with middle set and bottom set in those spots, but it's still something to keep in mind with other combos that you're considering slow playing with. The third concept is going to be hyper-aggressive opponents. These guys rely heavily on information that you give them. And you guys can see my cat is on the table. I'm going to yell at him after this video, but I don't feel like remaking it. Essentially, when they see check raise or any aggressive action from the majority of live low stakes pools, that's going to be a signal to them that their opponents have the nuts. And they're going to essentially be able to play perfectly. They're going to be able to bet fold a lot. So my cat's being really wild right now. So I think against these guys, you want to consider slow playing a little bit more often, check calling a little more often, simply because you just don't want to give them that info. And they'll be able to, or they have the ability to really barrel a little too frequently with a wide part of the range. And so it's going to be a little bit better for you guys to play slow play in this spot. The fourth and final concept is simply range versus range interaction. And how does your opponent hit the board? And this kind of goes hand in hand with blockers. Let's say that you have middle set on, let's say, King 10-8. You have pocket 10s. If your opponent's range is very Broadway heavy, if he has a lot of those bigger cards, then, especially when you don't block top pair, there's going to be a lot more hands that he's going to want to continue with. So when the board essentially hits your opponent's range a lot more strongly than it would on like certain other board textures, then you're going to want to fast play a little more often because they're going to be forced to defend with most of their range. They're going to want to continue with most of their range. So definitely keep that in mind. Keep the other 3 concepts in mind. If you guys have any questions or comments about slow playing or trapping, if you feel like I missed out on a concept, then go ahead and let me know. Until next time, this is Nick from Arch City Poker. Take care.